Hello and welcome to Any Given Sunday, Week 5. I'm Coop. I'm an Eagles fan. This is my good friend Tyler. He's a Rams fan. And neither of our teams are particularly relevant to the headlines this week. So I don't have a
No,
segue ready.
which is kind of a first. I mean, I guess the only segue that I have is that we're in Baltimore. We go to school in Baltimore.
This is true.
Surrounded by a lot of Ravens fans who are not the happiest campers right now.
No.
Because they look really, really rough, and with Lamar Jackson out, they look even rougher.
Yeah, it's a little bit like what we talked about with the Bengals a couple weeks ago in the episode that no one ever saw, where it was already the Bengals were 2-0 at the time, but it was already kind of brutal with everything going their way, and now they lose the engine.
Yeah. I agree. I think Lamar was the flotation device keeping them afloat for the first 4 weeks. Um, and Matt is out for the season. Marlon Humphrey's going to miss some time. So an already defense, I'm pretty sure Roquan Smith is also going to miss some time. So a defense that already looked really rough, it could get worse, which is pretty hard to imagine with I'm pretty sure they let up the second most points per game in the league right now, with the only team being worse than them is the Dolphins.
Yeah, and that's not the kind of company that you want to be in. We'll talk about the Dolphins a little bit later, but it's been really rough for the Ravens. And if Lamar he's out for 2 to 3 weeks, if it's the longer end of that, and you go 0-3 in that span, you're 1-6. Do you try to salvage playoffs at that point, or do you punt the season effectively, go get a defensive superstar early in the draft, or maybe an offensive tackle? When's the next time the Ravens are going to be picking as highly as they
Yeah.
would if they start the season 1-6 and just tell Lamar, hey, we don't want you to get hurt. We're going to pay out your incentives. You stay on the bench. We'll handle everything else.
Yeah, I think that the Ravens' choice about that one, I don't think the Ravens are going to be a team that are going to say, "Hey, let's sit our starting quarterback even while he can play to try to get its hot pick in the draft." I don't think the Ravens are going to be a team that'll do that. I think once Lamar can play, he will play, and he's going to try to compete and he's going to try to win games. So I think the best thing for them to do for the hopes of this season, honestly, could potentially be trying to make a move at the deadline. Because that, especially in that corner room, to start the season looks really, really bad. And I'm pretty sure we talked about this last week, where Jair Alexander, with that incredibly low PFF grade, and PFF sometimes this can be unreliable, but it's if you watch the games, you believe it.
Yeah, PFF is it's a nice metric for generally how a player is.
Yeah.
I would never rank players by PFF grades. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah. On the other side of that, if a Jair can turn that around, it's a really big gain for the Ravens, because we've seen Jair be an elite corner in the league. We've seen him be a solid. We've seen him be very good. This level of play from Jair is something that I don't think we've seen yet in his NFL career. Is that a tell of time? Is that just he's not fitting into the scheme? We don't really know because we're not in that facility with them. But the question that I think that this really brings, if the Ravens have a losing record this year with this team, with this roster, is the John Harbaugh era over
It has to be.
in Baltimore?
If and I hadn't fully formed my thoughts on this headed into the season. But I said during the offseason in videos that are up on this channel, if the Ravens can't do it this year, they're never going to get it done. And the only way you can change that is to change things organizationally. And maybe that's just firing Harbaugh. Maybe that's taking Eric DeCosta out with him. Maybe you need a full organizational reset. This is going to be a very attractive destination for any coach, any GM. Theoretically, two of those are winnable games. They're not going to beat the Rams without Lamar. But theoretically, two of those are winnable games even without him. And if you can't go 1-2 in this stretch, it might be time considering to can Harbaugh mid-season so other teams know you're on the head coaching hunt going into the offseason.
I think that's what they should do. I don't think that's what they will do just because of the loyalty. I mean, Harbaugh was the head coach during the 2012 ring. He has been a winning coach throughout his career as a coach. And the massive amount of support that he's had from the fan base for the time that he's been the head coach until recent history. And I don't see the support from the fans anymore. The fans want him gone, and I think that if the Ravens have a losing record, dare I say have a top 7 pick this year, I think the Ravens make a mistake by not firing him. So I think if that happens, the Harbaugh era will be over in Baltimore.
I think the league might have passed Harbaugh by. Yes, John, thank you for 2012. That was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
Couple AFC Championship game chokes where the defense couldn't do fucking anything and the offense was poorly schemed.
Yeah.
Now, the offense of the defense aren't his responsibility, but
it's still your team.
It's your team. At some point, the buck stops with you, and if your team can't get it done,
I think an interesting path for the Ravens because I don't think it's just Harbaugh. I don't like Zach Orr either. I think Zach Orr is already on the hot seat, and if at least the defense doesn't shape up this year, and if they end bottom 5 in I think any defensive metric, I think Zach Orr is gone. And with that, I think comes the interesting narrative of, okay, who's next?
Yeah.
And honestly, I think one of potentially my top candidates, if he chooses to leave his current team, is Chris Shula. Because I think Chris Shula has been a rising coach, the current Rams defensive coordinator. And I think, especially with the defense that the Rams have been putting together this year, if that continues and the Rams have a dominant defense for the rest of the season, I think Chris Shula could be looking to get poached. And will he take that head coaching opportunity in Baltimore or even that defense coordinator opportunity in Baltimore if given to him? Who knows? Time will tell. But I think my biggest question is who next in Baltimore?
I was floating this idea of Harbaugh getting fired around with one of our friends, Cowboys fan, should tell you who it was. And when she and I were talking about it, I floated Chris Shula's name. I also floated Jesse Minter's name, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. I did not float Brian Flores' name because we've seen him as a head coach. I did not, and that was honestly the eliminating factor for a lot of other coaches as well. Because if we've already seen you and you already proved you can't do it, why would I give you a chance to take Lamar Jackson and a Ravens defense with this much talent on paper? Why would I give you a chance to fuck that up?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about Flores. I mean, Tua has certainly proved Flores right. But, man, it's hard to see the Ravens either not hiring an offensive guy or not hiring a defensive guy out of LA.
Yeah. I completely agree. But on the opposite side of that coaching spectrum, we've got the Indianapolis Colts with Shane Steichen and the Colts. Even though they lost to the Rams, it was a close game, and not only were the Colts a holding call and a unfortunately timed error by Adonai Mitchell. That game, honestly, the Colts could have walked out of SoFi with a win.
Well, and I really do hate to play the if game, which is why I'm not going to talk about the hold at all. Holding calls happen. They happen on big runs all the time. I will play the what if game on something that's just a stupid fucking mental mistake.
Yeah.
What if Adonai Mitchell doesn't taunt them by holding the ball out?
Or attempting to hold the ball out.
I mean, I'm a Texas fan. Adonai Mitchell was a Texas receiver. Hook 'em. that was a brutal play to watch. And I fired off on our Twitter, at Any Given Sunday Pod, Adonai Mitchell with the tight window catch of the year. And then about 5 seconds later, I had to quote tweet it with, and he wrecked it by dropping the football Deshaun Jackson style. Oh boy, was that brutal. Because if that game goes to overtime, who knows what happens.
Yeah.
And I've been avoiding talking about this, but I have to cry about Shane Steichen because I mentioned with glee in several offseason videos how much I was looking forward to having Shane Steichen back in Philadelphia because his quarterback situation was impossible. How could he possibly make Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson into a playoff caliber team?
Maybe Daniel Jones was good the entire time, and he was just having the time. I think that's a serious thing in the NFL.
I can't accept that. I can't accept that the guy I dominated for 6 years.
I think that there are some franchises in this league that are just bad. Unfortunately for people who live in the New York metropolitan area, 2 of those teams are your teams.
Yeah.
So to the fan bases of Big Blue and the Jets, I'm sorry that you chose wrong. But more notes on Daniel Jones. Even though Daniel Jones did throw two interceptions in the game against the Rams, other than those 2 throws, I thought he looked good. I think that he made the right decisions a lot of the time, and honestly, what more can you ask from a quarterback than that?
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate for him that he frankly underthrew the ball twice. Maybe that is a Daniel Jones thing. Maybe he just doesn't. I don't think he has the cannon for that because both of those were very deep throws. And if those were even less underthrown by 2 yards instead of 2 interceptions, you're looking at 2 very, very large gains. So maybe that's just looking at maybe you don't throw the ball deep with Daniel Jones, or maybe it's when you do, he's got to throw it with a lot of anticipation.
Yeah.
But other than those 2 throws, I thought Daniel Jones still looked good. He still looked a lot better than he did in the Giants. And I think that even with that loss against the Rams, the Colts fought. The Colts fought in that game, and I think that is a really good sign for them.
Well, and the question that we have on our prep sheet is, are the Colts legit despite the loss? And the answer to that isn't just a straight up yes. It's a, how do you feel about the Rams and the Eagles and the Broncos? And I feel really, if the Colts competing with the Rams is impressive, it's because the Rams are a contender. And if the Rams are a contender, it's because they went toe-to-toe with Philadelphia. But if you don't think Philadelphia is a contender, everything starts to kind of fall apart there.
It's hard to argue against Philadelphia being a contender, though, because they are 4-0, and they haven't played pushovers.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I'll talk about this a little bit later with the Bills, is that they're the only undefeated team in the league that has, and I believe we were talking about this a little bit before the show, Eagles are 9-6-1 against their opponents are 9-6-1 so far this year.
And 4 of those losses have come to the Eagles. So they are effectively 9-2-1.
So the Eagles so far, I think, even though they have won in highly improbable ways, they have won in when the odds were low, they still win games and as a team, and they have won in multiple different ways. So I absolutely think the Eagles are still a contender this year despite some of their inconsistencies.
Well, and that makes the Colts contenders because the Rams went toe-to-toe with a contender, and then the Colts went toe-to-toe with a team that went toe-to-toe with a contender. And that makes all 3 of them contenders in my eyes, which is really fucking weird to say about a team quarterbacked by Daniel Jones. Man, it's just like, oh.
No, yeah, I'm at a loss because it's so weird to watch a player be so inconsistent. And honestly, I respected the Giants for putting faith into Daniel Jones when they did put faith into him, because he was coming off of an efficient season and they did make the playoffs, even if it was in large credit to the defense and Saquon Barkley. But Daniel Jones was still an efficient quarterback that year, and they put faith into him, and I respect that out of the organization. But then you put faith into him, and then you don't do anything to help him.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't re-sign Saquon Barkley.
Or Xavier McKinney, or invest in the O-line.
Or any of the numerous things you can do to help him out. You just didn't do. But I love seeing him in Indianapolis. I said this last week. I will say it again. I think Daniel Jones looks good so far this year, even with throwing those 2 interceptions. And I think that if Shane Steichen, which I have confidence that he will, if Shane Steichen can use Daniel Jones' skill set appropriately, which he has so far this year, I think that the Colts are going to be looking at, I will say, a potential wild card win, because it's hard to imagine the Colts beating the top 3 to 4 teams in the AFC just because of how good they are.
Well, but who are the top 3 to 4 teams in the AFC? Because Baltimore's dropped out. Buffalo hasn't played anybody real. Kansas City may not win their division. The Chargers just lost to the fucking Giants. Who's to say the Colts aren't number 2 in the AFC?
That's true. That is a really good point. Honestly, if the Colts did walk out of SoFi with a win,
yeah,
I would be okay to say that they were number 2 in the AFC, because they would also be 4-0, while playing a contender. But at the end of the day, they didn't do that. I'm okay calling them 3 to 4.
Yeah.
But Colts are absolutely legit. I think that they're going to have probably somewhere between 10 and 11 wins this year, and could be looking at. I think they will win the AFC South.
It'd be hard not to with the way the Texans have played.
And they could go further than that, but we'll see come January.
Well, and a big part of the Colts' comeback is Daniel Jones' change of scenery. And speaking of quarterbacks who need a change of scenery, the Cardinals and the Dolphins both wore their rivalry jerseys. Kyler Murray and Tua, there is still time. You can still repent. Go to Minnesota. Go to Carolina. Go to L.A. Your services will be well taken there. And maybe, just maybe, you can develop into a starting caliber quarterback. On the rivalry jerseys, though, I saw a lot of memes about the Cardinals jerseys looking like tortillas. And up close, yes, they absolutely do. But from a distance, in the wide shots, Cardinals jerseys, I like the tan on red. Yeah. I like the state flag. I like that they repainted the end zones to be red and copper with the star. Overall, I think the Cardinals really knocked it out of the park with the first game of the week. And on the other side of that, the Dolphins and their midnight or their deep dark jerseys, excuse me, also knocked it out of the park in the second to last game of the week.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think I thought the Arizona jersey looked really clean. I thought they looked really simple. And I'm the kind of person I kind of like that sometimes. And the Miami jerseys. I mean, Miami, you are too bad of a team to have jerseys that look this good. Like, come on, you gotta put up some wins when you're repping that kind of swag. I mean, they look absolutely gorgeous. So absolute props to Arizona and Miami's the design team, whoever designed those jerseys. They look absolutely stunning on the field. Yeah,
and we're not fashion experts, you and me.
No.
I don't think anyone could mistake us for such by looking at the clothes that we're wearing. I am able to identify a good NFL uniform matchup when I see one. And Cardinals-Seahawks was a great matchup. The Cardinals were in their blue on grays. That's a great look on its own, contrasted against a really, really good Cardinals jersey, arguably the best Cardinals jersey we've seen since Nike took over, save for maybe their current blackouts, which are really nice, and which they're wearing this week, by the way. And the Dolphins, I mean, It's the best their uniform has looked since they got rid of the blue face mask. And speaking of, bring it back, cowards. Bring back the blue face mask. Do it.
The colored face masks, they just look so much better when the face mask matches the team. And another thing, if we're talking about fashion, please bring back the Breast Cancer Awareness Month gear.
They are, I think.
Are they really? I don't think I've heard that news yet. Because
I don't know that they're actually bringing back like the pink gear, but they are doing. Oh my God, what's it called? Not Crucial Catch. Cancer Awareness 2025. Oh, it is Crucial Catch. Never mind. So it's just the shit that they've been doing for the last few years, which means the fashion unfortunately won't come back with it, but. To Tyler's point, do it.
It looks so great, and it's for representation of a worthy cause. It's iconic. Absolutely love to see all the players out there rocking the pink cleats, pink mouth guards, pink gloves, pink wristbands, swept armbands, sleeves. Just bring it back.
Yeah. And one more note while we're on the Cardinals, since we're here anyway. The Unks still got it performance of the week. I know you didn't watch the Thursday night game, but man, Calais Campbell was moving out there. I would not have guessed that he was in his mid-30s based on the way he was playing.
How old is Calais Campbell currently?
I want to say 34. He is old for an NFL player. He is old especially for a defensive lineman. And he was moving out there. He was all over the Seahawks backfield. He was a big part of the reason the Cardinals were even in it to come back late. Oh my God, he's 39. Retire, dude. You're pushing 40.
Unk does still have it, though.
Unk still got it. 3 tackles and a sack for Calais Campbell. Absolute shout out to the old man. Please, dear God, let Walter Nolan develop into the kind of player and human being that Calais Campbell is. I really hope that statement doesn't age poorly.
I hope so, too.
Walter Nolan, some off-field issues. I will acknowledge that now so that nobody comments it. But Calais Campbell, as far as I know, has been a standout human being for the duration of his NFL career.
He reps that Man of the Year patch on his chest proudly.
I wanted to say he was a Man of the Year, but did not want to be wrong about it.
And even after winning it, he still contributes so much, which really says a lot because he's not doing it for the award. So Calais Campbell, absolutely stellar career, absolutely stellar man, player, human. So Calais, you are the Big Man of the Week award.
Unk still got it.
Yeah, my bad. Big Man of the Year was
Caden Proctor.
Was that Caden Bama lineman catching a screen pass
and rumbling all the way inside the 5.
You'd love to see it.
This is one of the few times this season where we will not give that to an NFL player. There will be weeks when we don't award it. Sometimes there's just not a notable big man. Calais Campbell could have qualified for it, but I think Caden Proctor catching a pass and rumbling inside the 5 is a little more in the spirit of the award. In the same way Jordan Davis rumbling almost 19 miles an hour last week was.
It reminiscent of a Dan Skipper touchdown.
Yeah,
no?
Very much so.
But Calais Campbell and Caden Proctor, you guys, our Unk Still Got It and Big Man of the Week award winners. And I guess we will get on to our circled games for this week.
Yeah, we moved from talking about one NFC West Thursday night football game to another.
Crazy. NFC West getting back-to-back Thursday night games. Love to see the coverage on what I think the most competitive division in football is.
And it certainly in the wake of the Micah Parsons trade, that is true. I think the NFC East might have given the West a run for its money if Parsons were still in the division. Thank God he's not, and thank God for Jerry Jones. We got to find a way to make sure he stays alive forever. But Niners-Rams, both of these teams – nope, I'm sorry, that's not true. The Niners are coming off their first loss this season.
Yes.
Both of these teams are 3-1.
Yeah.
It's a Thursday night game, a Thursday night divisional game, which means shit's going to be off the fucking rails. It might be a 6-3 game because Thursday night games do not have the best reputation. But this is a very important matchup very early in the season.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? It's a home game, but there will be a lot of red in that stadium based on what I've seen.
There always is a lot of red in SoFi when San Francisco plays there. Honestly, I think that is a credit to the fact that San Francisco is not far from Los Angeles. When LA left the South California, the SoCal area in the 90s, where did a lot of those fans go? San Francisco. And when LA moved back, a lot of those fans didn't switch back. Meaning that a lot of the fans in that SoCal area are still Niners fans. And whenever the 49ers go to SoFi, it is pretty much a San Francisco home game. But even with that being said, I think right now the 49ers are I think they're too banged up to compete with the Rams. And I mean, like, truly compete with them. I still, simply because of respect of divisional history and the fact that Kyle Shanahan so far has owned Sean McVay, I do think that the Rams are going to take this one, but it is a battle for the early lead in the NFC West because of actually that may not be true. If Seattle wins this weekend, I'm pretty sure it'll be Seattle and the winner of this game tied for first because they'll both be 1-0 against divisional opponents and they'll both be 4-1.
Seattle lost to San Francisco in Week 1.
I did not know Seattle already played 2 divisional games.
Yeah, if Seattle wins this week, and so do the Rams, if Seattle wins this week, winner of this game gets the divisional lead over Seattle on time.
Yeah,
because either the Rams will have beaten the Niners, which the Seahawks failed to do in Week 1, or the Niners will have beaten the Rams and they have the head-to-head.
Yeah. So, I mean, I personally have this game scored at 27-23, going in the way of the Rams. If this wasn't a divisional matchup, that score differential would probably be bigger just because if you look on paper and so far this season, you kind of get the feeling that the Rams are the significantly better team.
Yeah, and I think now I have a ton of respect for Brock Purdy. In the offseason, I put him in the same tier as Stafford, Daniels, Mayfield, Hurts. In kind of that tier 3 of NFL quarterbacks. There's the top 3 guys and then Mahomes and then the guys that I just listed. Purdy had a not great game against Jacksonville last week. There were a couple throws that if they're caught, they're huge plays or even touchdowns. Didn't happen. You play the game that's scored, you play the game that's called. I still think Brock Purdy is a tremendous football player. I think he's a tremendous quarterback. And I think that he's going to keep this game and most Niners games this season far closer than they have any right to be. Worth noting, the Niners have the easiest schedule in the league, which has contributed to their 3-1 start, despite the fact that they are heavily injured at a lot of key positions. That being said, you and I have actually the same differential for this, just slightly different numbers. You've got 27-23. I have 28-24. So it's
one score different, 1 point difference.
I trust Joshua Carty to kick the extra point after the 4th Rams touchdown. I trust that touchdown will come on defense. Let me actually rephrase that. The Niners' O-line for a few years has been Trent Williams and 4 other guys. Trent is starting to slip.
Yeah.
Age is finally catching up to him. He's either at or above 40 years old at this point. His run as the league's best tackle is over. Lane Johnson, take your spot for however many years you have left. But It's
going to be tough for an aging and already not great Niners O-line to take on a front four or a front seven as talented and powerful as the Rams.
Yeah, and I think it's not even just the fact that they're talented. It's the fact that every single one of these guys is hungry. Like every single one of these guys wants, and it's not even that. They get more hype for each other than they get hype for themselves. And when you see that out of a young defensive core, it's honestly the best thing that you want to see. And at that, I think Byron Young this year has been a player that I don't think anyone has thought him to be. I'm pretty sure on the season right now he has 5.5 sacks.
Oh, wow.
He's gotten at least one in every game. He's gotten 2 in one game.
He'll get 3 this week.
He's gotten 1. So, and not to say that Byron Young is just that great of a player. I mean, he's a good player, but it's just because that Rams D-line, you've got to double team someone.
Yeah.
And when you double team 1 or 2 people on a defensive line where all 5 of them are very capable of winning one-on-ones, it's trouble.
Yeah.
And I think that you're exactly right. I think that will continue this week. But even with that defensive line dominance, I do think that Brock Purdy is going to be able to keep them in this game. Because I feel like Brock Purdy is one of those quarterbacks where he is very capable of making decisions quickly.
Yeah.
And he's very capable of getting the ball out quickly. He's a little bit more of a traditionally styled quarterback than a lot of the league is at this point. And I think that is going to benefit him under pressure, which he probably will be a lot in this game. So I guess that is my take.
Yeah, no, I think that this is, if Nick Bosa were playing, I would say this is more a battle of the defenses than a showcase of the offenses. Because he's not, because George Kittle is still out, because Brandon Ayuk is still out, because the Niners...
Jawan Jennings is also...
He may be.
Out. I think he's listed as doubtful right now. I can fact check.
But this is a Niners team that, much like last year, has absolutely no business being anywhere close against any real contenders. But they were last year, and they will continue to be because Brock Purdy is that caliber of quarterback.
So Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, and Brock Purdy are all listed as questionable for this game.
Yikes.
I'm sure Purdy will play. I haven't heard anything about Purdy, so I'm sure that might have been like a at practice today kind of a thing. But I have heard that Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall are dealing with things, and if both of them are out,
if you're down your top
and
4 pass catchers,
and your number 1 receiver at that point is Kendrick Bourne with Demarcus Robinson and Sky Moore at the 2 and the 3.
Oh God!
And then I bet you haven't heard this name in a little bit. Marquez Valdez-Scantling would be.
I'm sorry, he's not a Saint.
Not according to ESPN, he's not.
I don't know when that happened.
I don't know when that happened either, but under the condition that Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall are both out, Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, Sky Moore, and MVS is the top 4 receiver rotation that you're looking at. But even if one or both of those guys can play, it makes being competitive and winning this game, if possible, so much more realistic for the Niners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Jesus Christ. If they're down their quarterback, their top 4 receivers, that's an unwinnable game. This becomes a blowout if that's the case. Unlikely, but and Mac Jones played pretty well when called upon. He went 2-0. Currently has a better record than Brock Purdy. But yeah, it's a rough outing for the Niners if they're missing any of those 3 guys, let alone potentially all 3 of them. And speaking of rough outings, but inverted for once, our next circled game is Giants-Saints. Now, the Giants had the upset of the week last week. I don't think that's particularly disputable. A winless team Now, granted, it was a home game for the Giants, but a winless team starting a rookie quarterback against a great defense, eviscerating the Chargers offense, holding them to less than 20, and winning by scoring points on offense.
Yeah.
It's unheard of.
Yeah,
New York, rejoice. You did it.
I thought Dart played I'm not going to say a spectacular game, but I definitely think he played a solid game. When the Giants had the chance to go up and they had a chance to shut the door on the Chargers, I thought Dart made the right decision. I don't know if you saw that, but he threw that floater. Unfortunately, didn't get caught, but it did hit him in his hands. That's not something I blame Dart on. I think he made the right decision in that situation. We'll talk about this a little bit more later. I think that next week is going to be a huge opportunity for Dart to show the league what he is about. But in terms of this game, Giants and Saints, like I said, huge opportunity for Dart. The Saints looked a little bit better last week. Granted, but that final score of the game, they still lost by 12 points.
Well, and I think that this is kind of a game between two organizations that are fundamentally building themselves differently. The Giants have been trying. They tried with Daniel Jones. Now they're trying with Jackson Dart. They are trying to build around their personnel, and the coaching staff and the front office are almost immune from that, right? Like it's their job to field the teams. It's their jobs to do it. But the Giants have cap space going forward. They are not in a terrible position, and they know that. And they are trying to gather the talent necessary to build a competitive team. The Saints, on the other hand, if I had to describe their offense headed into this year, it would have been something to the effect of Chris Olave and a really shitty house. Spencer Rattler has outperformed expectations. I think he's still one of the bottom 5 quarterbacks in the league.
I was going to say, outperforming those expectations.
The fact that he's not the worst quarterback in the league is what makes him outperforming expectations. And I think, because I saw him play last year and it wasn't good, I think that a lot of that comes down to coaching. And what the Saints are doing is they are highlighting their coaching with Kellen Moore and whoever their defensive coordinator is. And they're saying, hey, we know we don't have the talent to win these games right now.
Yeah.
Figure it out anyway. We will get you the talent later.
Yeah, I think you have a really good point about that Saints coaching staff. Because I'm very curious to see what they can do when they have a good roster put together. Because I think that it's not up for much debate right now that the Saints are a bottom 3 roster in the NFL. They might honestly, they might be in my eyes, they are the worst roster in the NFL. Because it is Chris Olave and who else? I mean, Rashid Shaheed sometimes.
Rashid Shaheed is, how do I say this nicely? Jalen Reagor meets 2024 Quentin Johnson. Like he'll run a go. Rashid Shaheed is not a guy I want running routes. I'm going to give him a go.
Yeah.
And he's going to run down the field, and he's either going to outspeed his guy and catch it, or he's not.
Yeah.
I don't want him as my number 1 or number 2.
Yeah.
As a number 3 or even a clear out guy, sure. Any higher than that? Quez Watkins. He's Quez Watkins.
I was about to say Tutu Atwell, but I think
That's nicer.
I think Tutu Atwell is a little bit more of a well-rounded receiver. I think he's a little bit more of
Shout out Chris Yarber.
A little bit more of a somewhat of a threat in other parts of the field. Shout out to Tutu Atwell and Eric Yarber. Tutu Atwell with
Eric
an 88-yard game-winning touchdown. And honestly, I thought that the route looked great. He got into the DB's blind spot and then made him look silly. Caught it, ran it down, called game.
Yeah.
Bringing you back to the Saints, not a lot of talent on the team. Chris Olave, and honestly, I think this is a serious concern, is that I think Chris Olave, I think his body is going to give out before this team gets good. And that is really unfortunate to say because I loved the Saints drafting Chris Olave. I loved Chris Olave as a player. I loved him coming out of, in my opinion, receiver university.
Between them and LSU, just take your fucking pick. There's no wrong answer there.
But Chris Olave, I was really excited about him. And it just sucks to see, I'm not pointing any fingers, the hospital balls that were thrown to him in the early parts of his career.
I'll point fingers at Jameis Winston and Derek Carr. I'll do that.
I was mainly pointing towards Derek Carr because I like Jameis Winston as a person too much to make fun of him as a quarterback. But I think the Giants absolutely run all over the Saints. I think the defense is gonna, even for a team that is coached by Kellen Moore, I think the Giants defense is gonna. I don't think they're gonna give the Saints much. And honestly, looking at my score right now, I think that the score differential is going to be a little bit bigger. And for this one, I think that Jackson Dart will go down to Louisiana, and I think he absolutely will show out. I will say this as many times as I need to. Jackson Dart was my second favorite QB prospect coming out of this draft. I wanted him in L.A. Giants traded up and took him. But Jackson Dart, I think, will show up. I think he will show out in the Bayou. I think Giants take this one away 27-13.
Okay. I will say this about the Saints personnel before I give my own score. And I tweeted this out as well, again, at Any Given Sunday Pod. It really felt like, for at least the portions of the game that I saw, the Saints were trying to figure out what life would be like with Kendre Miller as RB1. In other words, what life is like without Alvin Kamara. Now, it's worth mentioning, we talked about this last week, the Chiefs' run game is a real fucking problem. And Alvin Kamara undoubtedly makes it immediately better. You have to wonder if Kellen Moore is looking at the much younger running back and thinking, can we get away with having this guy as our RB1 while we send Kamara out to just recoup some value from that, maybe a second or a third.
Get that at this point.
If you can get that at this point in his career, which from a team as desperate as the Chiefs might be, yeah, I think you probably could get a second or a third out of them for Alvin Kamara.
The only thing is, honestly, my only question is, what are you going to get out of Alvin Kamara that Isaiah Pacheco doesn't bring at this point?
Elusiveness.
At this point in Alvin Kamara's career.
The ability to actually read a defense.
That's true.
Isaiah Pacheco, if you give him a hole and it's roughly within his vision, he'll find it and he'll hit it. That was always kind of the appeal. He got hurt again. He's not as explosive as he used to be. He's not as bendy as he used to be. Alvin Kamara will find the hole no matter where it is, and he is more elusive than Isaiah Pacheco is, despite being significantly older.
Show me up.
That was not my intention.
It's just because I don't have a whole. I've never. This is probably a little bit unpopular. I've never been a huge Alvin Kamara guy.
He's never been great, except 2017.
Just because the whole Alvin Kamara versus Christian McCaffrey, I was always a CMC supporter.
You take the guy that's run for 1,000 yards once in his career.
CMC has to have gotten injuries, because if he didn't, those running back all-purpose records gone. CMC, honestly, I think had a bid at the 2023 MVP. I mean, he scored 24 touchdowns or something like that. That is absolutely absurd. So that's why I was never really a big Alvin Kamara guy.
Well, and it feels worth mentioning, if you could trade for CMC, yeah, do that. But I don't think he's on the market. And I think Alvin Kamara...
I think San Francisco wants to stick with him.
I think Kamara could be on the market.
Yeah.
And I think because that's true, or because it could be true, the Chiefs have to be shopping.
Yeah.
Now, for Kellen Moore, you just beat the shit out of the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Do you want to give them a chance to get their lick back on your old team if it has a slight chance of making your current team better? Yeah, probably. But
I don't think the Chiefs are going to touch the championship game this year, which is a little bit.
That's a little bit of a hot take.
Which is a hot take, but it's hard to watch the team play right now
Yeah.
and say that with confidence they're going to make an AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Because to be transparent about it, I don't see an explosive team. I don't see a team that has the referee, the true 12th man, on their side anymore. And I think that is what's flipping a lot of the close games that they're going against. Now, granted, they did just obliterate the Ravens.
Yeah.
I thought Mahomes looked really, really great in that, and I will get into that a little bit more when we talk about the Chiefs. But for Giants Saints, I think Giants are going to come in. I think they're going to get a good win for Big Blue.
Yeah, you and I have the same number for Giants points scored. I have a little more faith in Kellen Moore on the Saints offense, heavy on Kellen Moore. I've got 27-24, and we were just talking about teams that don't have a chance to sniff the title contention. Let's talk about two teams that I had in their respective conference championships, the Broncos and the Eagles.
Yeah.
One of those is a lot more vindicated through 4 weeks than the other. I'm just going to spoil this outright. I have the Eagles winning this one. The Broncos are 2-0 at home. They are 0-2 on the road. Granted, wacky shit in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
The strength of both of these teams lies on their defenses. And when the chips are down, I know Jalen Hurts can beat Pat Surtain because I've seen him do it.
I've also got the Eagles winning this one. And the reason why I say that is because I know that when the Eagles' backs are against the wall, somehow so far in the last, 20-something games?
20 in a row.
They find a way to win. Whether that is through improbable plays or finally fixing what they've been doing wrong the entire game. The Eagles have been finding a way to win, and I have not seen that out of Denver. So I think, if anything, this game will start close. I don't think it'll end close. I've got 28-17 Eagles moving to being 5-0.
I was going to say that's a little bit of a deficit, but I realized looking at the screen that my deficit is actually larger. And really what that comes down to is I just don't trust Bo Nix against this Eagles defense. Now, we're down our top edge rusher. Jalen Carter's dealing with a shoulder injury. But we have Zach Bond. We have Jahad Campbell. We have one of, if not the best secondary in the league. I know that might be blasphemy when talking about the Broncos specifically. But we have a really, really well-rounded defense. And candidly, Bo Nix has not shown me that he is capable of performing against that.
Yeah, that's exactly why I don't think the Broncos are going to come out of here putting up more than 20 points. Is just because when the Broncos so far in the Bo Nix, Sean Payton Broncos, when I see that that offense back when they're against the wall, they just don't show me reason to believe that they can come back from the adversity and pull game-winning and pull scoring drives together late in the game. And I believe this one is in Philly.
Yes.
And we were just at the Link a couple weeks ago. When that Eagles crowd gets rolling, it can get really, really rough for an offense.
Well, and I'll touch on the Eagles' offensive struggles. Kevin Zullo has yet to remember that there are 60 minutes in a game. Now, I will say the sweep off of shove formation, love it. The 2 touchdown passes to Dallas Goedert, the 2 little shovel passes, love them. Those were great. You got to get A.J. Brown involved, man. And it's not that they didn't target him. They targeted him 9 times. But 3 of those targets came in a row on curl routes behind the sticks. 3 straight passes, 1 of them almost intercepted, 2 of them broken up by the DB. Curl routes behind the sticks.
You know, I think they might have watched some film on that Rams-Eagles game. when A.J. Brown caught like 5 curl routes in a row against the Rams. God,
This is the more concerning thing to me. I mentioned last week that Saquon Barkley has become a liability. I watched this week's film against Tampa. It's not him.
No.
And this is far more concerned because if it's him, whatever. One struggling player does not a bad offense make. But it's the offensive line. And I'll give them credit. They've improved in pass protection, which is to say they are better at picking up blitzes than they were last year. And they are giving Hurts the same crazy fucking passing pockets that he had last year. But the strength of this offensive line has been run blocking. And I think a combination of having the shortest offseason in the NFL and the shove is really starting to weigh on this Eagles offensive line. Because the three bright spots have been Jordan Mailata, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson. And two of those names, very familiar for Eagles fans and non. Tyler Steen, the new starting right guard, has played exceptionally well. Cam Jurgens is dealing with lingering back issues. Landon Dickerson is dealing with lingering knee issues. They are a problem. They have not been getting the same pushes they did last year. They have not been able to work as a unit like they did last year. And it's a real problem. I expected a lot of the Eagles' offensive line this year to be three guys on an island, Jurgens goes to help Steen. And instead, it's three guys on an island, Jurgens and Dickerson pray that they can double team whatever fucking D tackle they're on and give Hurts enough time to pass while the other three guys handle their man.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you, just because of, like I talked about last week, that Rams defense put Saquon in a box. And even the best running backs, when they're getting tackled and they've got literally nowhere to go, that's not on them. The offensive line has to figure out some kind of way to get a push in the run game, because if they don't, it does give me concerns that this Eagles offense will continue to struggle. Because so far at least in what I've observed, Jalen Hurts has not been a high volume passer, but he is an efficient passer, and there are question marks that are raised when an efficiency passer goes from being efficient and then it all of a sudden needs to have a high volume, more prone to make mistakes, more prone to injury, and it's just a much heavier load for the quarterback. And my question is, how will Jalen Hurts be able to handle that? So far in games that I've seen where he has picked up the load, he has been able to handle it. Will he be able to continue to do so? Who knows? But to bring this offensive line struggles back to the Eagles-Broncos game, the Broncos defense is nothing to sneeze at. Their pass rush is nothing to sneeze at. And I think for the Broncos to have a chance, for the Broncos to come into the Link and have a chance to win this game, I think that defense has to take over, and they've got to take over. They've got to take over early, and they've got to sustain it.
Well, and the way to beat that, and now it's worth mentioning, there is not a defense I trust more in straight-up man coverage than Denver.
Yeah.
There is not a defense where I would leave their top 6 DBs or their top 5 DBs straight up one-on-one against especially the Eagles more than Denver. But the answer for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles is going to have to be pray to fucking God they are in man and dice them up underneath. Or let AJ get one over the rookie or over Surtain deep. And the fact that it's an Eagles home game really does a lot for me. Because if this game were in Denver, I think it would be a different story. I've got the Eagles 24-10. And I think they probably score 10 points in the fourth quarter to pull away and make it look a lot more comfortable than it was.
Yeah. That I think a similar scenario is what I see happening for this game.
That does it for our circled games and our headlines. So we are going to cut the shortest of the videos off here, as we did last week. If you enjoyed, we will have the VOD should already be out. That'll almost certainly be the first thing I get out. That'll be over on the Any Given Sunday vodcast channel, which is linked in the description below. The edited version with more than one camera angle, which is really what most of the editing is, will be out before the Thursday night game goes live. Please follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are linked in the description as well. And we will see you next week if this is the only one that you choose to watch.
Thanks for watching.